Hello, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Dom Garrett. I am the senior correspondent and host here at Vita News. Good morning from the United States. No matter what you may have seen in the news, we are still here right now, at least. I want to welcome you to the next section of today's conference. I am very excited to be able to be a part of the global state of tobacco harm reduction burning issues, to be able to bring this information, these speakers, this important conversation to you today. It is unfortunate that we cannot be meeting in person, but it is so wonderful that the team at KAC was able to put together another wonderful virtual conference to be able to get this information to you. For those of you that are unfamiliar with myself or what we do here at Vita News, we are an organization that is focused on battling the misinformation around tobacco harm reduction. On top of misinformation, we look at the lack of transparency from international health organizations, as well as harmful governmental policy. And so we focus on amplifying consumers' voices and hoping to disseminate and spread science-backed policy and information, as well as improve the global communication with those decision makers, both those on the policy level, those on the public health level, as well as consumers. And so this topic that we have, this next section of the conference, is focused on the current issues around tobacco harm reduction. And that is something that we have been very focused on, incredibly focused on here in the work that we have done. For me personally, the idea of tobacco harm reduction itself just makes sense from a logical perspective, right? You have something that causes harm that all of us kind of grow up understanding that does cause harm. But then on the other side, you have a group of people that are saying, well, you should either quit what you're doing that's harmful, or unfortunately, you should just perish or die. It's really those two options. And so this idea of being able to meet people where they are at and offer them the ability to be able to reduce that harm in a way that they could potentially stop those dangerous habits, that they can live longer lives, well, that's something that I have always thought that I could get behind. And at the very beginning of my personal journey, I imagine that I was like a lot of you. I saw certain products, certain ways that looked like a path forward, and it seemed very optimistic. Well, obviously, if people just understood what was going on, then they could be able to make different choices. But unfortunately, the reality of the situation is not that. Now, the report itself, and I really hope that you have a chance to read it and go through it after all of these speakers today speak, it's definitely worth really diving into. But one of the key factors that I took away from seeing that is that over the course of the WHO, the FCTC, as they have tried to take care of this problem, they've realized that this is a public health crisis. This amount of over 1 billion people are projected to die in the next century, the current century, from these issues, from this one thing in particular. That number itself of current users of these deadly products has not gone down, but we've seen the number that has gone up has unfortunately been two. Number one, the dollars that they have spent to try to get this done, and as well, we're looking at the rate of smoking increasing in low and middle income countries. And that is one thing that we at Vita News have tried to focus on to see why exactly is that happening? What is going on the ground? Is that something that people, what are the issues there? And unfortunately, misinformation comes in. There is a lot of, as we just heard in the last section, wealthy billionaires that are pushing their own ideologies through philanthropy, as they call it. And there's a lot of really intense issues surrounding both the amount of money, the misinformation, and the issues with low and middle income countries, and how some organizations are actually pushing really horrible policies. And so that is really the broad stroke of what we're going to cover in this section. I want to make sure to get out of the way because we have some amazing speakers that are coming up. Some I have had the privilege of speaking with before, and I'm sure that you are going to love them. Some I have not had the privilege of speaking with, and I am going to be tuned in and watching closely with you as well. And just a note, make sure that you do leave any questions. I want to try to leave as much time as possible for Q&A at the end of this section, because there is a lot of wonderful knowledge, and you have fantastic questions that we can be able to get a little bit more of that knowledge out of our speakers. Our first speaker is Jenna Fedolino. She is a PR practitioner based in the Philippines. She is going to speak very specifically about the misinformation, the demolition of misinformation, and that issue that we unfortunately know too well. So Jenna, please take it away.